Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're essentially putting on our hard hats and taking on the role of master builders. Think about it. If you were constructing a skyscraper, there's no way you'd just start pouring concrete without a detailed blueprint, right? Well, the exact same thing is absolutely true for your organization's data. Today, we're going to explore exactly how to construct a robust data governance architecture and take all that abstract strategy and turn it into a tangible working environment.
I want you to really mull this over for a second. If data is a capital asset, literally just like cash, where exactly is your vault? Who holds the keys? And how are you protecting it? Because here is the major catch. Unlike money, which can just sit securely in a bank vault and gather interest all on its own, data only generates real, tangible business value when it's actively being used, combined, and most importantly, accessible to the actual people who need it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The phrase data architecture can often sound incredibly technical, maybe even a little daunting to some. But let's just strip all that jargon away. At its core, data architecture is simply a representation of your data environment, the components inside it, and how they interact with each other. Think of it as the master blueprint that organizes the people, the processes, the policies, and the tech required to manage your absolute most valuable information assets.
To build this blueprint, we've got a really focused 5-step construction plan today. We'll start with the foundation, prioritizing our core capabilities. Then, we'll look at the structure, how governance sits within architecture management. From there, we'll establish the rules through operating frameworks. Next up, we load up our equipment with the right technology tools. And finally, we lay down the plumbing, which are the actual workflows that bring this whole thing to life.
All right, let's kick things off with step 1, the foundation, where we prioritize essential capabilities.
So, before we can figure out exactly how things are going to run, we really need to establish what needs to happen. The key here is focusing on capabilities rather than just getting bogged down in processes. Capabilities represent the what. They are much more stable, and they give you the room for agile iterations because they represent a long-term alteration in how your business actually behaves around data. Processes, on the other hand, well, they're the how. They're very specific, pretty rigid, and usually tied to immediate policies that honestly might change by tomorrow. By designing around capabilities first, your foundation stays rock solid even when the underlying technology shifts.
That means prioritizing the right capabilities right out of the gate is absolutely crucial. We're talking about the core essentials here. Things like metadata and glossary management, basically just knowing what your data actually means. Data quality support to make sure it's accurate. And data lifecycle management, so you know exactly when it's time to archive something. By zeroing in on these specific capabilities, you guarantee your governance architecture aligns directly with real business goals, cutting through all the noise to focus on what actually matters.
Moving right along to step 2, the structure, which is all about data architecture management.
When you look at the famous DAMA International Data Governance Wheel, you notice something pretty striking right away. Governance isn't just shoved off to the side as an afterthought, it sits right at the absolute center of the entire framework. It radiates outward, monitoring and supporting everything else, from data architecture and metadata all the way to quality, storage, and security. It's literally the central hub holding the whole wheel together.
And because it sits right there at the center, we have to understand its true function. It is the exercise of authority, control, and shared decision-making. I mean, think of it quite literally as a government for your data. It doesn't necessarily do all the heavy lifting of physically moving the data around every day, but it absolutely sets the policies, mandates the standards, and monitors conformance across all those surrounding pillars we just mentioned.
Now for step 3, the rules. Let's talk about designing operating frameworks.
A gorgeous new building is completely useless if people don't know how to navigate it, right? Well, your operating framework basically serves as the rules of the site. It dictates exactly who is allowed to do what within our freshly built architecture. This means setting up really clear accountability and responsibility structures. It defines your engagement models and assigns vital roles, people like data custodians, stewards, and governance councils. This ensures the human element of your organization is perfectly in sync with the technical design.
Okay, on to step 4, the equipment. It's time to load up our technology tool belt.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the distinct breakdown of the different tools you actually need. You can't just go out and buy one generic data governance tool and call it a day. It doesn't work like that. You need discovery tools equipped with AI to even find your data.
You need administration tools to handle workflows. You've got efficacy tools for quality profiling, provisioning tools for secure access, and metadata tools to manage your glossaries. It's not a single hammer, it's an entire ecosystem of equipment.
Which actually brings us to a massive warning label for this whole project. It's perfectly captured in this quote from our sources. No single tool executes all of the various requirements we have covered at uniformly satisfactory levels. Seriously, do not fall for a single vendor's marketing buzzwords promising you a magic bullet. To actually succeed here, you have to thoughtfully assemble a comprehensive, integrated tool belt of capabilities that fit your various specific architectural needs.
And finally, step 5, the plumbing. Let's see these workflow structures in action. Workflow structures are what actually breathe life into this architecture for your team's day-to-day operations. Let's look at a super practical, everyday scenario, a data acquisition workflow. Step 1, an analyst realizes they need some data for a task. Step 2, they search a properly governed data catalog. Step 3, they identify exactly what they need and hit request access. Step 4, a designated data steward gets that request, reviews it, and approves it. And Step 5, native warehouse controls seamlessly grant that access. The governance isn't invisible, but it is incredibly frictionless.
Ultimately, what that workflow creates is what we call safe data enablement. It completely proves that governance isn't just about playing defense, It's not about locking data away in some dark digital basement. It's entirely about enabling a secure, transparent, and honestly, simple shopping for data experience for your knowledge workers. They get exactly what they need quickly and safely.
I think this quote summarizes the whole mission perfectly. Governance is not solely a control practice. The entire architecture we just mapped out, the prioritized capabilities, that central DAMA structure, the operating frameworks, the loaded technology tool belt, and the workflow plumbing, it all exists for one strategic reason, and that is to safely extract real business value by getting your knowledge workers the insights they desperately need.
So, as we wrap up our blueprint today, I want to leave you with one final vital question to mull over. Is your organization's data architecture currently acting like a roadblock, just creating bottlenecks and endless confusion, or have you actually built it into a governed superhighway that empowers your team to drive real value? Take these structural concepts we've covered today and go start building that superhighway. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.